So this is probably one of the craziest things I've heard in a while, but I'm kind of open to it. So according to the president of Pixar, Incredibles 3 is being considered to happen. Yeah, you heard that right. The renowned animation studio's new initiative is supposedly being focused on new concepts as well as bringing back spin-offs and sequels of popular IP, with The Incredibles being one of them that was named. But does a third movie actually work? Would Incredibles 3 work better as a sequel or a possible prequel? In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about a potential third movie, along with what my thoughts would be to make a perfect Incredibles 3. Now, some of you might be asking, Hero, why would they even consider making a third movie? I feel like Hollywood isn't really original anymore, and everyone's just kind of making sequels and just building on past popular franchises. And that's where I'd actually tell you, you're right.
Huh? Come again?
But there is a reason why this is happening. As we know, movies are struggling very hard right now in the box office. Honestly, movies just don't have the same appeal they used to hold, unless it's something that people already resonate with or are looking forward to. And this is actually why we're seeing the shift in Pixar's strategy as filmmakers. And it comes after the major success of Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4, where both of them made over $1 billion worldwide, essentially proving that sequels make that cheddar. These movies demonstrated the powerful draw of established franchises and the importance of tapping into the nostalgia and loyalty of their fan bases. And the years since those popular releases of those sequels, Pixar kind of has been struggling a little bit financially. They actually tried to focus on more original stories, which is apparently us audience members wanted and none of us showed up for, as well as being significantly hampered by, the thing that happened in 2020 that no one likes to talk about, which led to the shutdown of multiple theaters and changed viewing habits of audience members, and partly on their own fault. Disney's decision to release animated movies on Disney Plus altered audience expectations, making it harder for new original films to actually, have success in the box office. And considering that Pixar's last 6 movies collectively made less than Incredibles 2 did, the return of the Parr family can actually be a much needed success and boost for the studio. It's actually just called a matter of trust in a brand. When you have like brand loyalty, like if you're a fan of Coke over Pepsi or PlayStation over Xbox, you feel very strongly on one side than the other because you trust in that brand because of your past experiences with these brands that you want to continue using them. Same thing works when it comes to movies and franchises. If multiple movies and sequels are doing very well for someone, they're going to keep making them because, the audience wants it. And the audience shows they want it by showing up in theaters. You see how this all comes full circle? As long as the stories remain compelling and good, we're going to keep showing up. That's just how the human brains work. Heck, WALL-E is my favorite Pixar movie of all time, and I would continue to show up for sequels if they ever announced one, regardless of what the story is, just because I trust them to make a good WALL-E sequel. You can definitely bet I'd be the first one in line to get those tickets. Well, this same principle applies to the Incredibles franchise. The first one's a classic, the second one was great, so why not a third one? There's a deep-seated trust and connection that these fans have with these characters and this world. And honestly, I would argue that this trust translates into box office success, ensuring that sequels, when done right, are not just cash grabs as the general audience likes to call it.
Everybody's a critic.
But rather opportunities to explore more into characters' depth and the universe surrounding these characters. But the keywords are if done right. The Incredibles franchise debuted in 2004 to rave reviews, quickly becoming one of Disney Pixar's most beloved movies. The film introduced audiences to the Parr family, a superpowered clan living in an alternate, retro-futuristic world reminiscent of the 1960s. In this unique setting, superheroes had been forced into hiding due to public backlash and legal complications, creating a compelling backdrop for the story. The original film's blend of heartwarming family dynamics, exhilarating action sequences, and witty humor struck a chord with viewers of all ages, solidifying its status as a modern animated classic. Given its immense popularity, it was only a matter of time before The Incredibles joined the ranks of Pixar titles that warranted a sequel. In 2018, fans' long wait was rewarded with the release of Incredibles 2. This highly anticipated follow-up continued the adventures of the Parr family, picking up right where the first film left off. The sequel didn't just meet expectations, it surpassed them, earning a stellar 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics and audiences alike praised the film for its engaging story, impressive animation, and deeper exploration of the characters' personal and heroic struggles. Incredibles 2 was not only a critical success, but also a box office juggernaut. It ranked in over $1.2 billion worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing animated films of all time. Given the critical and financial success, it's no surprise that Incredibles 3 is being discussed right now at Pixar and Disney. The continued interest of the Parr family by audience members speaks to the franchise's ability to evolve and captivate the audience more and more, while retaining the loyal following it has built over the years. But with all this said, that means we have to have a good sequel in mind, right? What would actually make a good Incredibles 3? Incredibles 2 built on the narrative of illegal superheroes and kind of turned the tables on that, with the main plot focusing on re-legitimizing the superheroes. The conclusion of Incredibles 2 marked a significant shift in the status quo for the Parr family and the superhero community. The removal of the underground lifestyle that defined the original film may have stripped away a key constant backdrop that allowed the story to focus intimately on the family's struggles and dynamics. However, this does set up an open playing field for Incredibles 3. With superheroes now accepted and operating legally, an Incredibles 3 movie has a vast amount of possibilities and directions it could go. At the end of Incredibles 2, the Parr family is back together, fighting villains openly as the Incredibles. The sequel could focus on new themes and challenges such as the dynamics of being a public superhero family, the pressures of fame and media, or the moral complexities of superhero work in a world that is now officially sanctions it. Incredible 2's after credits scene teased the continued presence of the Underminer, suggesting unresolved plot details that could be explored in a third film. Although the Underminer had a brief but impactful appearance at the start of Incredibles 2, his storyline was left open-ended. This provides a tantalizing opportunity for Incredibles 3 to dive deeper into his character and plans. Perhaps the Underminer's schemes have grown more sophisticated and dangerous, posing a new kind of threat that challenges the Parr family and other superheroes. But I also believe that Incredibles 3 could benefit from a significant time jump. I mean, keeping Dash and Violet as adolescents and not growing up is an easy continuation of where Incredibles 2 left off, but it also means that their character arcs have less room to grow. Similar to how Andy matured in the Toy Story franchise, the story can then focus on different things that happen as they grow up. It would offer a fresh perspective and something different for the audience members to look forward to. Like imagining Dash as now a high school senior, or Violet being a young adult now, maybe college years, navigating relationships and deciding her future path if she wants to continue being a superhero. A time jump also opens up the possibility of like one of the kids leaving the Parr family, like moving out and discovering their own path, which would be really cool. Like a whole story focused on, I don't know, Dash as a younger man, or Violet growing older and like of her trying to figure out her place in the world. It would like focus on them trying to step out of their parents' shadow and like, you know, trying to be a superhero themselves, which is a very common theme, like taking over the mantle. I mean, we see this all the time with Batman and Robin, right? Also, a time jump would kind of explain and help push forward a narrative of Jack being older, because so far we've only seen Jack as a baby with uncontrolled powers. It'd be interesting to see once he actually harnesses those powers a little bit older. We could also throw a little twist in there of Jack getting older and becoming the next villain. I don't know. I think there's something there.
Oh, I want that footage. I want it. I need it.
Hey, having a family member turn into a villain where the rest of the family has to bring them back to the light, I think that's pretty interesting. Hey, it worked for Darth Vader in Star Wars. That's all I'm going to say. And of course, in this time jump story, we'll be introduced to some new villains, because as we know, when there's more superheroes, there's usually more villains, kind of how the genre works. But one of the best ideas I have for an Incredibles 3 story is actually a prequel. I know, people are iffy about prequels, but just hear me out. I would love to see the backstories of Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, diving into the origins of their powers and their early days as superheroes. I think that would be so interesting to see. Imagine witnessing the beginning of the superhero era, right when superheroes are fully coming out and everyone's getting these powers and the world don't know how to react. We can see how Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl discovered their powers, honed on their skills, and then started their heroic journeys and adventures. See their younger selves, their motivation, motivations as they grew up into who we know from the first movie, and the challenges they faced with the beginning of the existence of superheroes. Tell me that doesn't sound interesting to you. We also could uncover the fates of Elastigirl's friends and the other people she worked with, because as we know, she does borrow a plane from one of them in the first movie to save Bob. So I mean, I need to know that whole backstory right there. Give us a couple adventures with her like past mates, and I want to see what happened. Did they survive? Did they move on? Are they sitting in their houses, have families now? Like, I need to know all this stuff and why they were significant to her past. A prequel story could also focus on the beginning origins of Edna Mode, which, come on, let's be honest, she's one of the best Pixar characters of all time. Like, it could show how she transitioned from the high fashion world to creating flame-resistant, multifunctional superhero suits. This storyline could focus on like how she realized that creating suits for superheroes was the way to go, what her motivation was to get into that field, and what established her as a indispensable ally to the superhero community.
Supermodels. Nothing super about them, spoiled, stupid little stick figures with poofy lips who think only about themselves.
But this whole backstory also could dive on the backstory of Syndrome before we see him as the full-fledged villain in the first Incredibles movie. We could dive into his early encounters with Mr. Incredible, how he was obsessed with him, and how he turned from then a fanboy to the supervillain we know. And it also make it very evident why he was so massively obsessed with Mr. Incredible and wanting to destroy his whole family. This would honestly build the history of the Incredibles universe in a way. And this would also allow us to be able to see the origins of the other prominent superheroes that we come to learn and love in the movie, such as Frozone. Like, where did he discover his ice powers and how did he get them? That'd be so cool to find out. Shoot, I've even argued that I would love to see a spin-off movie of just Frozone himself. I can't be the only one that wants to see a Frozone movie.
Honey!
What?
Where's my super suit?
What?
Where is my super suit?
But as for a compelling sequel story, it would be amazing to me if Pixar, in line with their goal of focusing on the nostalgia and what made people love Pixar films to begin with, is if they brought back an older Syndrome. Like, imagine a more wiser and ruthless Syndrome and returning as the big baddie in Incredibles 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's too much for Mr. Incredible!
His reappearance would not only like evoke a sense of nostalgia for everyone that grew up with the movies, but also be an exciting twist to the narrative, if you ask me. And in my opinion, they could draw from the success of Avengers Infinity War, which, if you guys don't know, ended with the superheroes losing. Imagine the Incredibles fighting off against the new powerful Syndrome and not winning, and prompting you to be like super excited for the sequel that is obviously going to come if this one does well. Fans like us need to see the next one to see what happens. I think that'd be insane, and it would start a cultural phenomenon for a good year and a half, 2 years until the next sequel.
Oh man! I'm still geeking out about it!
I just think bringing back Syndrome would be super nostalgic, and as well as making him more powerful, better tech, and he studied all the Incredibles' powers that he can counter all of them and no one can take him down. This sequel could also shift the focus on the next generation of heroes, Dash, Violet, and Jack-Jack. It would be like almost a more coming of age, growing up superhero story. But honestly, I think what made the first Incredibles story so strong and so powerful and successful was the compelling idea of superheroes being hated. This theme resonated deeply with people because it humanized these like larger than life characters. It makes superheroes feel relatable. And I mean, this same theme has been across like other superhero media like the X-Men, the Boys, and even the Avengers had to deal with this stuff before. But anyways, considering all of this, I still think an Incredibles 3 prequel story is the way to go. I feel like building on characters we already know, diving into all their past and what made them who they are today. I think that's a very interesting concept. But I do think a sequel focused on an older Syndrome returning would be very compelling as well.
You married Elastigirl? Oh, and got busy!
But what do you think? Would you be down to see an Incredibles 3 movie? And would it work better as a prequel or sequel? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, check out this video right here, because if you enjoyed this one, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. And I will see you over there. Bye-bye.